the general who's heading up the mission apparently was asked a question today in which I guess my name was mentioned by somebody, not a CNN person. I'm not sure who asked the question, but take a look.
Why was it not the military that was the first in there on the ground with aid supplies just as soon as, you know, Anderson Cooper could get in there?
It's a monumental challenge, and as we go into it with the understanding that we've got to support a lot of other activity that comes in. So we've got to set up the basis to make sure we can get supplies and capability in as efficiently and as effectively as possible.
It's an unfair question. I appreciate the mention, but it is an unfair question because I have no actual scale. I'm not actually, you know, treating large numbers of people or able to help large numbers of people. When their military comes in, they do it in a big way, and no one knows that better than retired Lieutenant General Russell Honore, who commanded the Katrina relief effort in New Orleans. He joins us now. General Honore, I appreciate you being with us. We'll talk in a moment about what needs to be done and how you think this is going to play out over the first couple of days. But as you see this now, has this been too slow, or is this about, you know, as best as is possible?
Well, we'll never get these done on time to meet the requirements. That's why it's classified as a disaster. But I would say this, Anderson, we have to adapt and overcome. We're going to have to come off script and do some things that's not in the plan. One of them is that search and rescue and evacuation trumps security. When you're saving people's lives, you will not have absolute security. We ran into the same thing in New Orleans. And I can give you several examples of where people were talking about security, and it held up the evacuation of the people out of the Superdome and the Convention Center.
I've often found, you know, if security folks, I mean, God bless them, and you know, we all need them in a lot of situations, but if you only listen to them, you end up limiting yourselves in frankly, your ability to go out. We see it as reporters. You know, if we listen to security personnel all the time, there are things we just wouldn't be able to do. At a certain point, you got to say, you know what? It's just time to treat people. You know what? Maybe our lives are at risk, but I can, you know, that it's a gamble. Maybe our lives are at risk, but I can tell you for sure, people are going to die tonight, and their lives are even more at risk.
I agree with you, and going to have to adapt and overcome. Going to have to engage the people in Haiti, try to get them organized in work groups to clear landing pads for those helicopters, clear landing pads to put supplies on the ground, and clear landing pads so we can stock equipment and have places to put tents up. But the people of Haiti can do this, just as we've shown that they've done a good job of being their own first responder and getting their citizens out of these buildings.
That is really the remarkable thing, is that, I mean, I think to a lot of outsiders, people come to Port-au-Prince maybe for the first time and say, oh, well, it's chaotic. There are rules here. There is a societal structure. There are, you know, real traditions and real bonds. We have to try to kind of, you know, understand that and use that in order to help the effort. It's not as if there's not order here and desire here for, you know, people and neighbors are helping neighbors. We just have to somehow kind of marshal that, right?
We got to marshal that, and we got to understand, just because these people are poor, it doesn't mean they're dangerous. We ran into the same thing in New Orleans. Everybody has got their flak jacket and the M16 on, and it comes down to me, my understanding of that is people were afraid because they were poor and they were on the street and they were in crowds. It's nothing to be scared of. You get supplies in there, you evacuate people, and encourage the people to help, and everything's going to be okay. They've got to move, and move now.
Yeah, General Honore, I want to bring in Dr. Sanjay Gupta. We've established a phone connection with him. He's at this hospital. The other doctors have been told, I guess, I'm not sure by who, to pull out. Sanjay, who told these doctors to pull out? Was it the UN?
I think it was the UN, Anderson. UN trucks came and got these doctors and said they were taking them to another location. They told them to come now to take a lot of their supplies. A lot of patients that were cared for earlier in the day and cared for well are left here. You know, they need pain medications, they need IVs, they need to be monitored. There are some critically ill patients. I've not been in a situation like this before where essentially I don't think that they wanted to do this to doctors and nurses, but they were asked to, and they complied, and now you have about 25 patients here in the middle of a field in these tents with hardly any supplies who are really, really sick.
General Honore, what do you make of this?
This is the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen. That's got to be fixed, and it needs to be fixed quick. The UN command down there needs to take responsibility for this. They got 9,000 troops, and if we have to, that big field Anderson showed, we need to drop the rest of that 2nd Brigade and 82nd Airborne in there at daylight tomorrow morning and get this problem taken care of.